Well, greetings and salutations, one and all, to the only Super Review Show's mixed bag coming to you live once again from many caves. As always, I am joined by my two incredible friends and panelists of the Super Review Show's mixed bag. Bill and Justin are here. What's going on, gentlemen?
Evening, folks.
What's happening?
So glad to have this back. Allie is not here right now. She's a little tied up with some stuff with work, but that's okay because it's gonna be boys' night tonight, and we're gonna be talking tonight about as we close in on 200 episodes of the Super Review Show's mixed bag. We are officially in the home stretch. Our next couple of weeks, for those of you who've stuck with us for a long time, we did this back in 2022 when we were approaching 100 episodes. Bill and I stuck it out and we did music through the decades, parts 1 through 6. Since we're a little bit tied up with some other things before we get to our 200th episode, which is my roast, which is coming up soon, I know. But
October 16th, it's on the calendar.
Yeah, let's
Oh, dude, we can't wait for that.
I know that they're counting down the moments until they roast me. Besides
Only
the point, though.
35 days left, but who's counting?
Oh, there. Anyways, I digress. No, but in all seriousness, though, for those you remember, we did music through the decades, parts 1 through 6. We talked about the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, up until today, talking about music from the decades that we cherish and love or enjoyed or whatever. We just had some basic discussions back and forth about it. We're doing the same thing, but with movies. We're talking about movies that came out in tonight specifically is a two-parter in a sense in one episode. We're doing movies through the decades, part 1, the 1960s through the 1970s. Because why? Now you might be saying, well, why are you doing two parts in one? Well, because the dealio is that we have the roast to the sixth episode right before episode 200. So we planned out accordingly to make it all work out in our schedules to make sure that we have a nice build up to the plus the 60s and the 70s films kind of going together for the most part if you think about them in the most context. I mean, they may have come out in like the same era of time, but they have similarities between them. I'm sure we'll talk about that tonight too. But yeah, anyways, we'll sit back, relax. If you're watching us live, great. If you've tuned into us on our podcast, just sit back, relax for the next hour or 2 hours, however long we go for. Because if you remember back then, our music through the decades, part 1, lasted for 2 whole hours to talking about the 60s music in general. But yeah, let's dive into it, shall we? Shall we start in the 1960, gentlemen, with a movie called, I don't know.
First, we got two things we got to get. Two things we got to pay tribute to. First of all,
yes,
earlier this week we lost a film legend.
Yes.
And that was James Earl Jones.
Yes, we're dedicating the show to you tonight, James.
James Earl Jones, who 93 years old, who was mostly known as Darth Vader in Star Wars, and then later known on Mufasa and The Lion King.
And let's not forget King Joffrey Jafar, ruler of Zamunda, from Coming to America.
Yes, James Earl Jones was a
one of a kind.
He is a film legend, and he will be missed. And second of all, we also want to pay tribute today to the 3,000 people who died 23 years ago today in the horrible attacks of September 11, 2001.
We are currently recording this episode right now on September 11th, so just letting you guys know about that. Yep.
So we pay tribute to them, and we thank all the first responders for their sacrifice on that day.
Yes, and even though we do live in the New York City region, we're not going to get too much into this, but we do live within the New York City region of the city. But yes, it was a very sad day, an emotional day for all, and all we can say is, God bless America and God bless our freedoms. And that was a very sad day, but we're all not moved on. We'll never forget it, but we moved.
We never forget.
Yes, good way of putting it. So, anyways.
All right, now on to lighter subjects.
Many subjects. I was thinking, wait, what year did Psycho come out? Was it 1960?
Justin? It was indeed 1960.
Let's talk about it, shall we? The film that really, to this day, scares the hell out of people. Psycho.
Honestly, yeah. Like this, even though I know the shower scene by heart,
yeah.
movie still scares me because there are other scares in this movie, and in my opinion, maybe not as iconic as the shower scene, but got me more. Not to mention, this is one of the few films that really started to weaken the Hayes moral code, um, which didn't technically go away completely until 1968. But this film was critical to chiseling away the strength of the Hayes Code. In this movie, there's a lot of firsts. This is one of the first times you get the lead character in the movie killed in the first half. It's the first time you see a toilet flush in a movie. You see blood and sensual. There are sensual scenes in this movie. A very complex villain, which, if anyone knows the Hayes Code, that's pretty hard to pull off because the Hayes Code had to be like, no, heroes had to be heroes, villains had to be villains. There's no gray area.
Just for simpletons like myself, okay, for people who don't understand the Hayes Code, would you mind explaining it?
Okay, so
here comes the film professor hat.
In 1932, to address all of the unacceptable behavior being portrayed on screen in film, a lot of it in like horror movies, such as Freaks or even Frankenstein, where Dr. Frankenstein's portrayed as having this god complex. The production code is set for movies essentially created these set of codes that were based on moral standards that all films had to abide by in order to get approved and distributed. Among these codes, if you give me 1 second, I'm going to look them up.
Justin's going to look that up for a minute there. He's going to look up what we got for the Hayes Code.
Ba, ba, ba.
Oh, I got some here.
Oh, what do you got?
Go right ahead, Bill.
Oh, no, wait, that's the don't and be careful from 1927. Never mind. Let's see. I'm looking.
Okay.
You got it?
General principles included lowering the moral standards of those who've seen it. Basically, you can't wrongly influence a specific audience of views, including women, children, lower class, and those of susceptible minds. Call for depictions of the correct standard of life. And lastly, forbade a picture to show any sort of ridicule towards a law or creating sympathy for its violation. The second part was a set of particular applications, which was an exacting list of items that could not be depicted, such as homosexuality, the use of specific curse words, let's see here. The notion of an adults only policy would be a dubious and ineffective strategy that would be difficult to enforce. However, it did allow that mature minds may easily understand and accept without harm subject matter in plots which does younger people positive harm. Basically, all movies have to be for general audiences. You couldn't criticize religion, you couldn't criticize the law, you had to portray good as good, you had to portray as bad.
So no nuances.
No nuance. Interracial relationships weren't allowed. It was a very restrictive. No drug use or portraying drugs as good. It was really conservative America controlling what could be shown on in film. You think the FCC is bad? The Hays Code was probably worse. And Psycho is one of the first movies that really challenged the Hays Code and eventually got approval. And it led to the Hays Code being weakened, which would be a trend continuing into the 60s until its eventual abandonment for the MPAA, the Motion Pictures Association of America, which created the rating system we know today: G, PG, and R. Bill, I know you're going to ask the question. Go ahead and ask it.
What question is that?
What about PG-13?
I know the answer. You know the answer. Everybody with half a brain knows the answer.
Da, 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 da.
Can I answer the question, Justin?
Go ahead.
PG-13 was not established until the 1980s, which we will talk about next week. You thought I was going to go on some big long speech about Gremlins, didn't you?
We'll save that for next week, folks.
And yes, don't forget my big long speech next week. But anyway, what was I saying?
Oh, X was also a rating too, but that was rarely ever used because X-rated movies rarely ever get released.
Yeah, he was basically to categorize it. G, children. PG, children with parents. R, adults. X, guys in sketchy alleyways that go to movie theaters after midnight.
Not quite.
Okay.
You see, today, yes, G would be for children, little children at that. But back then, G really did mean general audiences. Like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a G-rated movie.
Yes, it is, and it scared the crap out of us.
Yes, it did.
That's hard to believe. We can talk about that too later.
Yes, we will. It wasn't until like something we're going to talk about next week, PG-13 come around, that G started being used for movies for younger and younger children because PG became that new standard. PG was parental guidance. It means there is stuff in this movie that your kids might not be ready for.
Ooh, you know?
It's edgy, isn't it?
Back in the 70s and 80s, oh yeah. I'm pretty sure The Graduate was PG.
And we'll talk about that in a bit. But Staying on Psycho for a second. I haven't really watched the full thing, but you know what I really like? The trailer.
Oh, trailer's great. For those of you who don't know, who've never watched the trailer, I suggest you go out and watch it. It's basically Alfred Hitchcock going all around the Bates Motel and explaining how there's been a terrible murder there.
I just love how it's just the music.
With the
Hello.
most whimsical music you can imagine.
And
yeah.
then this. Hello, my name is Alfred Hitchcock. We're at this house where a murder has been committed. And then the music just goes, and then he's walking, but he's not. The funniest thing is he's not putting anything into his voice. He just talks in that weird British monotone.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going into this room now. Oh no, I can't. It's too horrible to describe.
I think when Bill and I did our top 10 movie trailers back in January or February of 2022, I actually brought this up as one of my favorite trailers of all time because it's 6 minutes of just him just motzing around the Bates Motel. And at the very end, it's like the ending of it's like the shower scene where Janet Leigh's like, I think that's it fills you. For those you don't know, I'm a trailer nut. I watch trailers a lot. Just
He's
for
got
like
a whole movie list. He's got a whole YouTube list of them, folks.
500 movie trailers in one playlist. I'm not kidding.
Dear God, man.
It's great background. It's great background noise in the background. I'm not even kidding. It's great. No, but in all seriousness, though, like with the trailer point of view, they do raise a good point, though. Like for Psycho, let's be real, guys. It was. You're right, though. The music's very up, but the tone is very like dark, and I would say dark, but just like suspenseful, mysterious, and it hits the right notes. What was I gonna say? I just lost my train of thought for a second there. With the Psycho thing. But Psycho was like, just if you've never seen it, watch it once in your lifetime. Then I'm not talking about the Norman,
Bates
Vivian.
Motel.
No, not Bates Motel. Who was they did a remake with Vince Vaughn? No.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
No. If you want to get to know
God,
cinema
no.
and you want to get to know really solid, one of the greatest directors of all time, Alfred Hitchcock, please watch Psycho. It's probably his best movie, arguably. So, but yeah, Psycho. A lot has been said there for Psycho from 1960. Do you guys want to go? Are we good with Psycho? Do you guys want to go down the line to 61 or 62, whatever, or what?
Hey, I got another movie I want to talk about in 1960, if that's okay with the good folks here.
What do you
Go
got?
ahead.
It's a movie that I think is very underrated,
Mm-hmm.
and it's based on a true story. It's by Stanley Kramer and stars Spencer Tracy, and it's called Inherit the Wind.
Do tell.
Justin, have you ever heard or seen this movie? Justin? Ground control to Major Justin.
Oh my God. Give me a second.
I'm sorry, my volume cut out for some reason.
Have you ever heard or seen this movie?
No, I have not.
Well, who's the pretentious one now? Okay, this movie was actually based off a play, which is actually based off of the true story of the Scopes monkey trial. For those of you who don't,
what? I have heard about this movie.
For those of you who didn't pay attention in history class that day, the Scopes monkey trial was basically John Scopes, who was teaching the theory of evolution. He got in trouble for it. He went to trial. He got found guilty, but he only got fined $100. And that was the fight between creationism and evolution that started in the 1920s. So Burke Yates, who is based off of John Scopes, they don't use the real characters' names. They're more composite characters, or they're characters based off of the real people. And then he is just like John Scopes gets in trouble for teaching evolution. And during this opening scene, which is very bone chilling, you see these random people in this street just gathering. one of them is wearing a clerical collar, so they're a member of clergy. And then when they're walking to the courthouse, when they walk into the school to go arrest Bert Yates, you hear, "Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion." And then you just that song is being played in the background, and they're just slowly walking, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? I remember I saw this in high school. I took a class called Society and Culture, and I remember watching this movie, and I'm like, whoa, just the shots, the atmosphere this movie builds up. Justin, as a film guy, you would say atmosphere makes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally get into the schoolhouse, and Bert is arrested for teaching evolution. And then we have the famous monkey trial. And he is and then coming to prosecute the case is Matthew Harrison Brady, played by Frederick Mark, who was based off the prosecutor of the trial, William Jennings Bryan. And then you have his defense attorney, which is sent by basically the ACLU, played by Spencer Tracy, and that character is Henry Drummond, who was based off of John Scopes' attorney, Clarence Darrow. And it shows the trial, throughout all this. Like, one of the things is Bert is actually engaged to that reverend who wants him arrested, is actually engaged to his daughter. And they find out, and I'll just go off a couple quick scenes that really stuck with me. And because when they're on trial, when he's on trial, they're actually forcing his fiance to testify against him.
Isn't that illegal?
It takes place in the 1920s. Yes, there's a thing called spousal privilege. So since they're not technically married, spousal privilege doesn't apply. But anyway, and I remember she was going like, and she goes, well, why is he against God? And he goes, well, no, he was just upset about about this little boy. Well, what happened? And then he goes, well, he was a boy that really took a liking to Bert, and he really taught him about the microscopes and science. And he really taught him about microscopes and science and all that. And he goes, but, and then he, and then they're like, and then he goes, well, what happened? Well, he was swimming one day and he died and drowned. Well, drowned and died. And then he goes, and my dad, who presided over his funeral, said that since he wasn't baptized, he wasn't gonna end up in heaven. And Bert Yates goes, and he said he was gonna burn in hell too. Religion's supposed to comfort people, not frighten them to death. And like, then there's this other, remember that scene for a second, I'll get back to it in a moment, but here's a funny scene when they're doing the jury selection trial, and they're saying, okay, what's your name? My name is so-and-so. I work at the feed store. He goes, okay, are you a religious man? He goes, well, I guess I'm religious as most of the next fella. He goes, well, and here that means a lot. Going, oh, so do you have any children? Not that I know of. And then Frederick Mark's character is going off on, would you be able to work, if you had children, would you be able to work with a man who is trying to corrupt your children by teaching them hogwash? And he goes, no, I wouldn't be able to work with that. Going, thank you. And why? Because I work at the feed store. Because I work at the feed store. But getting back to that first scene I talked about, during the trial, the Clarence Darrow character, Spencer Tracy's character, is trying to call up all these people, but they go, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. And Spencer Tracy gives this great, first he goes, well, we don't need all this. And then Spencer Tracy's character goes, well, what do you need, a rope to hang him from? And then he goes, that remark is an insult to this community. And Spencer Tracy goes, and this community is an insult to the world. He goes, no, I want to be off this case. And then he gives this speech, which I don't know if I can give all of it because I don't think I can do it justice. He goes, an idea is a greater monument than any cathedral. And he goes, because what you're going to do is you're going to turn Catholic against Protestant, Protestant against Protestant. Because fanaticism is a monster and it needs feeding. And then he's asked to be removed from his hat where he's staying. And then this elderly gentleman goes, I'll take him up. Go, what about his fine? Goes, I'll pay for it. And the man who actually offers to take him up was actually the father of the little boy who drowned.
Mm.
So he's doing it as sort of like a thank you. But the film itself, is it really based off of loosely based off the Scopes Monkey trial? But the film itself, the atmosphere is just really wonderful. Spencer Tracy just knocks it out of the park. And the scene when he's cross-examining Frederick Mark is absolutely just brilliant. But no, this is a movie that's very overlooked from Stanley Kramer and Spencer Tracy. If you get a chance, go watch this movie. The other Stanley Kramer, Spencer Tracy masterpiece, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which was a commentary on interracial marriage. Justin, was this a time when films started becoming more social commentary?
Starting to at this point. But I would say that would start coming more around the late 60s.
Okay. I yield. JT?
I have never seen this movie, so but based on everything you said, it sounds very interesting to say the least. So
it's definitely something I'd check out.
Thank you.
Definitely, it could be considered a product of its time, but still, it sounds very interesting. But all right, that's 1960. We're going to go to 61 now, right?
Let's go to 61.
All right, do you mind if I kick this one off? Because
sure,
you guys
already out in 61.
Right ahead.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I say, what about Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Yes, the song is great.
I think I remember the film.
But the film came out in 61. It's kind of like an OG rom-com. When we had our friend John here. Oh, thank you, Bernadette Charge, for jumping in the chat board. Our dear friend of our dear partner in crime over here. This movie starred Audrey Hepburn, and it was truly a classic of its time. It still holds up to this day. Truth be told, I've not seen this movie in probably years. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, but it's still. When I do remember, I remember like the promo. Aside from watching like the trailer and the promos for it, like the posters stuff, it's your average 60s rom-com. It's definitely a product of its time, but it's definitely like if you watch it today, I think actually when Bill, you were not here one day, and we did a Valentine's Day special, I think.
Yes, I was not here.
In 22 or 23, I'm not sure what year.
22. No, 23.
2023. Thank you. So last year in February, Bill was not here, and I actually had my friend John, who's a big fan of us. Shout out to you, John. Thanks for tuning in as always to our show whenever you can. He jumped on and he did a Valentine's Day special with us, and we just generically talking about like movies and stuff like that are like Valentine's Day movie recommendations almost. So like if you're looking for a movie with your date, and I'm not sure what to watch, babe, Breakfast at Tiffany's. There you go. We talked about this one for sure. But I haven't seen it in a hot minute, but I do remember though it was very funny from the humor is of the time, but it still holds up very well. Needless to say, Audrey Hepburn and George Papard as Tiffany and I forget the main actor, the main character's name. But anyways, I digress. Though, have you guys ever seen this?
Nah.
No.
Well, Justin, your girlfriend's in the chat, so you might as well just get on that now.
Get on it. Get on it.
Okay, but listen. If I see that movie, I am going to cringe every time Mickey Rooney's on screen as Mr. Yamamoto or
Yes, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but yeah. So, um, Bill, you said you have not seen this.
I have not seen this movie.
Well, get on it. It's. I'm just kidding. It's a very fun movie. Very very fun movie. The one time I did see it, it was very entertaining to say the least. But yeah, I had to shed some light for Breakfast at Tiffany's. Just a really fun an early version of what the romantic comedy would become in film history, like a very early adaptation. Like I think the closest thing before this was like probably 7 or 8 years prior was like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with like Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So that was the 50s. Though we're in the 60s right now. Anyways, I digress. Do you want me to go next, Dan, or who wants to go next?
Back to Justin, I guess.
So I really don't have anything for 61, but I can go on to 62 if you guys want.
Wait, what about West Side Story?
I was just about to say we got to talk about West Side Story.
Oh shoot, right. West Side Story, of course.
How can you forget West Side Story?
I'm just gonna say this out loud. My grandmother tunes into our show. Please, thank you for tuning in. As always, I know it's been. I know you. This is one of her favorite movies of all time. This is one of her favorite movies of all time. I think I may be wrong, but I believe she saw it in theaters.
Rumble. Do 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 do.
It is a classic film. And then the 2021 one, you know, that Spielberg did. I didn't see it, so I can't really comment on it. But I heard very good things. I heard it was it good?
It was good.
Okay. It's hard for Spielberg to touch something and have it not be good. Just saying. No, but this is the original West Side Story from 1961. If you love, it's been a while. It's not a musical. It's more of a, how would you describe it, Justin?
It's a musical.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't sure if that was the right word to describe it, but yes, this is a musical.
It's a Sondheim musical.
Yeah.
And it's got some grit to it for a movie from the early 60s. It does have a bit of this as we said, a bit more of a complex nuance to these characters rather than characters that you would see in like something from the 40s or 50s, where things were probably going to be a little more clean cut. You have these two warring gangs, both in conflict with each other, and it tells this Romeo and Juliet story with the dueling factions.
Yeah. Needless to say, it is one of the better movies of the early end of the 60s too. Really one of the best ones that was ever produced or made, truthfully.
I remember watching that film. That was it was good.
Yeah.
That's very, very good. They showed on if you have regular cable still in your house, they showed on Turner Classic Movies a lot. So if you have a chance to
Sorry, Bill, go ahead. In America. No, I got the song stuck in my head. No, but the music is great. It's just absolutely classic.
A true defining movie of its time period too, to say the least. Anything else for West Side Story? We should move over to 62.
I think I'm good. Like
I have
all I can say is great music. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
awesome.
And isn't it true that the Natalie Wood, she actually got dubbed when it came to recording, Justin?
Was she?
Yeah, I think she was.
I have no
Wow.
idea.
They actually had to bring in a professional vocalist to do her singing.
I did not know that.
What has this been? Random Facts with Bill. Random Facts with Bill.
But yeah,
All right.
West Side Story. Check it out if you haven't.
Let's go to 62.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
I did my homework for this one, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because we talked about this movie when with Bill once before, but it was To Kill a Mockingbird came out in 1962.
I don't want to spend too much time on it because we talked about this before, but
We have, and
it's
it
a
did.
great film, great adaptation of the book.
Mhm. Powerful movie to this
Great
day.
adaptation of the book. If you want to hear us talk about it more in detail, go back to the movies they forced us to watch in school that we did 2 weeks ago.
Yes, 2 weeks ago, and we did it. We talked about it beforehand too, with a while ago. I forget when it was.
Yeah. But
On
for the
one of
more
our
recent one, go watch that one that we did 2 weeks ago.
Yep, go tune
But
into our
Gr-
other one that we did.
Gregory Peck was actually voted. Atticus Fish was the number one. What was he? He was the number one AFI top movie hero,
Oh wow.
Wow.
even beating out Superman. Superman!
Yeah, and he looks like Superman. He looks like Clark Kent in this movie.
Yeah. For the name of God, gentlemen, do your duty. All right. Any other film in 62? We got 2 decades, so we better
Guys.
freeze. What?
Do you know what started in 62?
What?
Dun, 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 bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Oh, James
You,
Bond.
Doctor No.
Forgot about that one. Sorry about that. Ian Fleming, don't sue us.
Guys, this was the start of one of the biggest franchises in cinema history.
It really was.
One of the
Don-
biggest and bold. It's still going today.
Yeah, we just need to find a new Bond.
Oh,
Yes, we do.
spoilers for No Time to Die. But yeah,
Well, not necessarily. Everyone knew it was going to be his last movie.
yeah. But the way he went out was pretty like crazy. Remember that?
And now it's spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thanks, J-Man.
Sorry to all the.
Hashtag cancel JT.
By the
No.
power of this. Okay, Justin. Do we open that coup attempt that we were gonna do?
You guys can roast me later.
We'll talk about this later, Bill.
Yeah.
Damn it, he knows about it now. Shoot.
But Doctor No, I mean the OG first ever James Bond movie.
Sean Connery, the OG.
Connery.
What a guy.
This is where it all started. This is where Spectre started. This was where his womanizing started.
Because of the loosening of the Hays Code, right?
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't show him doing the job, but they could show what happened after.
Right. They couldn't show that, but they could show the afterword.
Yeah. So yeah, we're getting closer and closer to a point where the Hays Code is a no-go.
Nah. Oh wait, that's in 67, I think, right?
68.
We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the first ever James Bond movie was in 1962. Who would have thought?
Who
And
would?
now we have all these films later. And let's face it, guys, not every Bond movie has been great. Some of the ones in the 80s were not no bueno, right? Let's kind of be real. That's
The
conversation.
80s, especially. Well, the
Some of
Roger
like,
Moore ones from the 80s.
yeah, like Octopussy. Do you guys remember that one? Like,
I've
Or
heard of it,
View
yes.
to a Kill.
yeah. I mean, some of them were not as good. But if you were talking about like just the original like 60s and 70s Bond, Sean Connery and the 70s Roger Moore ones
Roger Moore.
were great too. But yeah, we'll get to those in a little bit too. But, yeah, but just to kind of sum, we don't want to talk about James Bond too much but it started in 1962 with James Bond.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
Needless to say, should we go over? Is that it for 62? Because that's a really, really big one for 62. Do you guys want to go to 63 now?
Yeah, well, what was in 63?
Let me think back for a second. There was
I don't know.
was it Lawrence of Arabia in
Yes, it
62.
was.
it was. It was it 62 Lawrence.
It was 62.
Oh, well, either
Oh,
way.
it was.
Yeah, that's a great movie too. Just want to say. It's like 4 hours long, but still. Let's see, actually, 1963.
It's a mad world. And oh,
What?
Cleopatra.
Ooh, this
Oh,
killer.
We need to talk about this one because this is super significant in the fall of old Hollywood.
All right, Justin, would you like to give some historical context?
it's a 4 hour movie.
So, in the beginning of the 60s, movie tickets sales were dwindling, mostly having to do with the introduction of television, but also because these movies that the studios were making had these ginormous budgets. And one of the biggest budgets that was approved of was Cleopatra. And they went so over budget on this movie that even though it was the highest grossing movie of 1963, it bombed because it was that expensive to make. You know how everyone is nowadays are looking at these big budget movies, and then they look at a movie like Godzilla Minus One, which was made for like $15 million, and they're like, "Where's the money going?"
District 9 was another one that was like a $9 million budget. Tons of visual effects.
This was the original. Where's the money going?
Gotcha.
Elizabeth Taylor was super expensive. Not to mention a diva who I think quit a couple times during production.
Oh, jeez.
Exorbitant amounts of money was on the sets. Reshoots. It was nuts. Like I said, this movie was the highest grossing movie of 1963. By all accounts, it should have succeeded, but it was just too expensive. And this was one of the last nails in the coffin that Hollywood needed to realize, okay, we need to change course here. These giant productions aren't making money anymore. We need to start doing smaller budget shit.
Because up to this point, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, going into like the golden age of Hollywood from like the 30s to the 60s. It was mainly, like the Wizard of Oz and what else? The grand spectacles and there's no
Exactly.
business like show business.
A lot of musicals, a lot of period pieces, a lot of epics. A lot of them are great, but eventually, especially with TV becoming a thing, you're gonna start losing ticket sales. And when that started, they couldn't afford to give these giant budgets anymore. And that's what led to an era known as New Hollywood, which lasted from, I would say, 1967 to somewhere in the mid to late 70s.
Very interesting indeed, my friend. Very interesting indeed. Anything else for Cleopatra at all? Or we're good.
I've never seen the movie, so
I
I
haven't
haven't
had,
either, but the movie's infamous for all the reasons I listed.
yeah. And for those of you keeping track at home, this movie is 3 hours and 53 minutes long. Just a little bit longer.
Dear God.
Just a
well,
little
I remember seeing on a bio about Elizabeth Taylor that when she was going through when she was on set and the crowd was going Cleopatra, Cleopatra, and they were chanting Liz, Liz, Liz. Okay. Anything
Crazy.
else? Any other film in '63?
There's another James Bond movie. There's a James Bond movie every couple of years in the 60s and 70s. Just want to let you guys know. But I think they hit the nail on the head there. Let me see. We could talk about so under 64.
Yeah, on a 64.
There's one. Oh, we got to talk about that.
What?
We got to talk about Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
Spoon. Oh, can't do that. Copyright.
No, yeah,
Not only copyright, Disney copyright.
yeah. Yikes! Don't do that.
Yeah, you know what? Whilst we're at it, hey Disney, can we get a deal with DirecTV, please? Anyway, that being said, but no, Mary Poppins. This was actually based off the books by P.L. Travers. And if you don't know anything about the story behind this, we actually talked about this when we did this like a year or two ago. Movies that adaptations of the author hated.
Yes, we did talk about this a little bit. So
P.L. Travers did not like this.
Yeah, he did.
No.
Not. We talked about that too.
She didn't like the fact that it was basically Disneyfied. Am I right, Justin?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And she didn't like the fact that it was a musical, even though the songs are absolutely timeless. Spoonful of Sugar, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yes. Classic.
Okay, I must have hit something. Feed the Birds, Jolly Holiday.
Yeah.
Let's Go Fly a Kite. This film is just
Step in time.
Step in time. It is just a spectacle to see. It really is. It just really is. And what else to say about it? Gentlemen, help me out here, please.
Isn't this one of the last movies that Walt Disney produced?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yes. One of the last one he worked on was The Jungle Book.
Jungle Book, right. But I think this was one of the last ones he worked from beginning to end.
Exactly, I think so. So, yeah, Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews, Dick Van Dyke, it's just an absolute classic.
And yes, the accent is as ridiculous as you remember it. Thanks.
Remember, I never explained anything.
I have a movie we could talk about. Actually, no, I have two movies we could talk about for 1964, and then we can, unless you guys have any others you can think of.
Let's hear it.
All right, first things first. Let me before I go in depth with it. There's I'm looking at my notes right here that I took. This is a fun topic for
Yeah,
us.
sorry I didn't do my homework tonight.
No, there's a thing called the internet. Don't worry.
I was more prepared for the late 60s.
And me too. What I just had it too. Oh yeah, a fist. I've seen all three movies, but A Fistful of Dollars.
Aha.
Never saw it.
The Dollars Trilogy.
The Man with No Name trilogy is one of the best trilogy, most underappreciated trilogies of all time, ladies and gentlemen. One of the most underappreciated movies of trilogies, period. Of it was 64, 65, 66. They did A Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more, and then The Good, the Bad, and the
Good,
Ugly.
the Bad, and the Ugly.
Done. That was Metallica's walk-on song, by the way. That score, the magnificent, not the Magnificent Seven, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That was their walk-on music. So
Really?
Nice.
it was very cool. But yeah, like A Fistful of Dollars. It's because a lot of people forget that the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was, they think of it as this great epic Western spaghetti Western film. This movie is the first one in the trilogy.
Right.
There's two, and I'll touch on like for a few dollars more really quick because it's next year in 65. We'll talk about it for a sec. It's a very long couple of movies. They're probably 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours long each. But they're very, very, very good. They actually sell. Unfortunately, physical media is dying. But I have a Blu-ray copy of the whole trilogy, the Man with No Name trilogy, starring Clint Eastwood. And literally, yeah. That score comes from this movie and these for three movies. But yeah, I wanted to just touch on the Man with No Name trilogy. Just a solid, incredible Clint Eastwood, man. What a guy. He's retired now, right?
Is he?
I think he said he was done after the last movie he did, most recent one. He's 94 years old, so.
And he's still kicking. God bless him.
God bless you, Clint Eastwood. Seriously, Eastwood, Clint Eastwood. So that's for Back to the Future fans out there. But no, seriously, this is a great movie.
Oh, don't worry, folks. That's next week.
That's next week. We went to the 80s. Don't worry. We'll talk about
Actually, that one was the 90s.
That was 1990.
No, 80. No, that was 80s.
It was
when I thought he called himself Clint Eastwood in part 3.
He did. And when that was 1990. I've seen this movie.
90s.
No, but I thought I was about talk about the original Back to the Future.
Oh no, the Western one was part 3. But yeah, I had to just touch on like the Fistful of Dollars and the whole like that whole trilogy is insane. If you ever have time, listener, viewer, fan of ours, people out there on the internet, tune in to watch. If you want to see some really, really just great spaghetti westerns, A Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Some of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Rating wise, they're like phenomenal. Just some of the best movies out there. I got one more for 64, if that's okay, guys.
All right, let's hear it.
Sure.
All right, because I'm looking at my notes here too, and let's not forget that the king of music himself had a couple of movies in his life too. There's one that actually I saw for the first time ever before my grandfather passed away. And the title track is in the movie. It's Viva Las Vegas.
Aha.
The movie, and it's not a great movie, but I
send my soul.
I just want to give a shout out to it. It's really not it's probably the best Elvis movie that he put out as an actor with Anne Margaret and him and like but I mean but that's you're saying that this is the best movie that he put out, then yeah. His movie like Jailhouse Rock left me 10
And unfortunately they only get worse.
Oh yeah, by the time he returned back to singing and acting and stuff and singing and performing, this was like probably the best he could do, honestly, which it really says something right there. So,
Well, you can blame Colonel Parker on that one.
Exactly. But I had to give a little love and appreciation for Viva Las Vegas with Elvis Presley and Margaret. And Margaret's still alive, guys. I don't know if you guys knew that. She's actually still alive. She's still kicking.
Good for
Uh,
her.
she has a lot of very good memories of being with him on set and stuff like that, which is great. If you ever, she doesn't talk about it a lot, but she's like, I was with Elvis Presley, and not many people can say that. So, but yeah, great. Just a very fun.
And then she gave birth to Roger Daltrey in Tommy.
How dare you? You tell me Elvis is secretly like Roger Daltrey's grandfather? What's going on here?
No, she cheated on Elvis with
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I said the wrong
Reed.
thing. Oh my
All
God.
right.
But yeah, if I had to shed some love for Viva Las Vegas, Elvis, if you're looking down on us right now, shout out to you, buddy. But yeah, no, that was that's 64. I didn't really. They had the other James Bond, but they had Goldfinger and stuff like that too. But we already touched on James Bond. But anyways,
I have one more for 64.
what do you got?
It's a hard day's night.
Oh, of course.
Of course, I wasn't sure if you were going to bring it up or not, but you know,
I mean, come on. The Beatles had a few movies come out in the 60s, and this was the first one, and
they did.
it's essentially it tells a slice of life story of the Beatles on tour, getting ready for a television broadcast,
Mhm.
and they get into shenanigans, especially with Paul's granddad.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, it shows how charming they are as a group, their personas, because let's be real, guys, those are personas. Like they're they're not like this in their private lives. This is just them,
Acting.
yeah, as heightened versions of themselves.
Yep.
It's just heightened versions of themselves.
And it's a fun flick
Sure
It's
is.
been a hard day's night.
with a killer soundtrack.
It's the Beatles. How can you not?
How could you not? How could
I
you
mean,
not?
with songs like A Hard Day's Night, I Should Have Known Better, She Loves You, If I Fell, Can't Buy Me Love. It's a great soundtrack. All right, I yield.
Okay. Now we go to 65.
I have the list pulled up right here. I'm looking at what movies came out in 1965 that are.
Did I mention the Beatles did another movie in 65?
Help.
Let's talk about it, shall we?
Help.
Help.
Yes. Help. Send help. No, joking. Help. The Beatles go color.
Ooh.
Color.
Paul McCartney.
Ringo is wearing a cult ring because reasons.
Reasons.
And now this death cult's trying to kill him. Ringo can't get the ring off, so they go to a scientist who wants the ring so he can rule the world. So it becomes this globe-trotting adventure where they're trying to get this ring off of Ringo. And there's music to it. So from what I understand, the Beatles were stoned the whole time they were making this movie, and I'm pretty sure the writers were too.
Wow.
Because this movie was ridiculous.
Yeah, sounds like it. I have a movie that we could talk about for 1965. That's okay.
Sure.
And I wonder if Bill knows this one or not. Let's see.
Okay.
The Sound of Music.
Good night.
I know you don't like it, but we have to talk about it though.
We have to, don't we?
We have to.
Adieu to you, to you, to you.
Why? Okay, it is an influential film.
It won Best Picture.
It did win Best Picture.
It's hard to argue against a film that won Best Picture.
I'm gonna eat my ice cream bar right this.
Have fun eating that.
And while you do that, may we present the Von Trapp family singers.
Wait, who's paying for this?
Our sponsors.
The family Von Trapp.
Yeah.
Justin, you didn't steal my debit card again, did you?
The Von Trapp family is sponsoring us. What are you talking about?
Well, anyway.
No, but in all seriousness, I like the Sound of Music, guys. This is actually really. I actually have like the deluxe box set somewhere in my house of this movie. Somewhere, I gotta find it. It was great.
Anyway, okay. The story to the movie actually has a very interesting backstory. It was based on the Von Trapp family singers who actually left Austria during the rise of Hitler. But unlike the film, it was actually the film dramatized it. What really happened was, you know how they escaped the Nazis, Justin?
How?
They just took a train.
They're gone.
It wasn't that big escape that you showed in that they showed in the film, but no, because like what happened is originally Maria Von Trapp wrote a book, and which was a bestseller, and around this time, you know, this was after her husband Captain Von Trapp had died. And she was kind of running low on money, and then she sold the rights to a German film company, and they gave her like less than 1%, and she didn't talk about it with her lawyers. And then when Rodgers and Hammerstein adopted the film into a play, into the show, The Sound of Music, and then it was adopted into a film. And the one thing that she didn't like was the portrayal of her husband, who was played by the late, great Christopher Plummer. And Maria Von Trapp actually went to the director and said, "Can you please change the portrayal of my husband?" And he goes, "Maria, I don't know what to tell you. You sold your rights to the German film company, which basically means we can do whatever the hell we want." And if you look in me, Justin, I don't know if you know this, but if you look during the song Confidence, if you look really closely to one of those blink and you'll miss it scenes, there is a random woman walking in the back, and that's actually the real Maria Von Trapp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's one of those blink and you'll miss it.
The more you know.
Well, Justin, have you ever seen the film?
Not in its entirety, no.
No, we're not doing a 60th anniversary movie commentary next year, JT. No.
Coming soon to the Super Review Show.
Oh, God. Justin.
We'll be sued for copyright like that. But anyways.
Justin, get the liquor. The strong stuff.
Oh, God.
This is like 80 proof worthy. Anyway. But no, the film, okay, as much as I dig on it, I have a reason to dig on it. And it's a very good reason.
Yep.
Every year from when I was in kindergarten to 6th grade, we always had to watch this freaking movie.
Aha.
What? What do you aha-ing, Justin?
I just felt like a high.
So anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and you know who actually hated this movie for a while? Christopher Plummer.
Yes. Yeah.
He thought it was too schmaltzy.
And then apparently he warmed up to it.
He said while filming, he said, I felt like I was being hit in the head with a giant Valentine's Day card.
Oh, God.
But, okay, the music's good. But this was one of the last This was actually the last film with who died first, Rogers or Hammerstein?
I forget.
I don't know.
One of them.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Hammerstein. But and I think about if you ever remember the guy Paul Justin who did the music movies. He did Sound of Music, and when you have the picture of Rogers and Hammerstein going, do these look like they wrote the happiest songs ever? They look like music, good. Okay, maybe I don't hate it as much as I thought I would, but it's a long movie.
Indeed.
It is a freaking long movie. All right, ready to move on to 66?
Yeah, and I think we're all set to go for 66. And mind you guys, there's something we have to touch on right away for verse 66. Right away. Shall we?
Yeah. By the way, 66, the year my mother entered the world.
We're talking about it.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
This movie is so clunky and so funny. I love it.
It's complete camp. It is complete camp. Get me the shark repellent bat spray.
Next to the octopus bat spray, next to the other shark repellent. I love this movie. It's actually just a fun time. If coming soon in 2026, a movie commentary of Batman the movie from 1966. Kidding. Don't worry about it.
No, we could do it. Are we down?
With a drinking game involved. For those
oh boy,
in favor.
Absolutely.
Every time they say holy.
Every time Robin says holy something, Batman.
Take a drink. That's actually really funny. We should do that one day for our next marathon. We'll just watch we'll just watch the Batman 66 show, which I have, by the way, the whole series on DVD. The whole series.
Whenever Batman goes into PSA mode and tells Robin to obey the laws.
Drink.
Drink.
JT doesn't drink, then we're going to be and Justin and I will be absolutely.
Oh, I'll drink for you, JT.
I know Justin's going to have 2 drinks for me. Don't worry. One for him, one for me. There we go.
Oh, JT, that means you got to drive us because we can't get behind a wheel of a car after we've been drinking. That's irresponsible.
No.
Don't drink and drive, folks.
Don't make you drink and drive, JT.
We promote sobriety here at the Super Review Show.
Well, you promote sobriety. We promote getting trash, but we don't drive after we drink.
Wow, that was throwing me under the bus while we're at it too.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Drink responsibly.
Please drink responsibly.
And don't drive. And don't drink and drive.
Don't be a joker. Be a smart man.
Be a friend this fall. And friends don't let friends drive.
Be a friend this fall.
Be a friend this football season. Dead friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Can you imagine? Yeah, I love this movie. There's so many great memes of it too. Hold on one second.
Some days you just can't get rid of a
bomb.
I love this. This movie is just so campy and so cheesy.
What have you done with Miss Kitka?
That's right.
You don't think they're gonna give a ticket to the Batmobile?
Can you imagine they get a ticket to the Bat? Oh my god! Can you imagine they have? That'd be so stupid. Can you imagine they have they give a police ticket to the Batmobile? Oh my god! We gotta move on.
All right,
Robin, we can't park here. There's a fire.
What was that, Justin?
Oh my god!
So bad. You know what makes it worse? That I actually have this. I have an Adam West Batman costume from '66 Batman. It's somewhere in my house. I gotta find.
Okay. one day we should do a show where we're all dressed up like Batman, but different Batman.
Our Halloween show.
That'd be interesting.
It'd be so funny. But my God, if somebody's just getting rid of a bomb. Batmobile. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We got to move on. But Batman 66 was a great movie in 1966. Our show's going off the rails.
JT, focus.
Bill, the merry-go-round broke down.
It did. It's so stupid. I love this show. I love this era of Batman so much. But we got to move on to something else, guys. That was pretty much we touched on the good, the bad, and the ugly. But if you just want to have a great time and watch,
so basically, Batman 66.
Basically, Batman 66 was the highlight of cinema in 1966 because.
Unfortunately, I think that's true.
We broke JT. In the arms of the angel.
I'm so sorry, podcast listeners. I'm sorry. It's just so. If you just Google Batman movie 66 memes.
Hi, I'm Sarah McLaughlin, and if you want to help a desperate Batman fan today, please donate $1 to the J-Man.
You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. And I'm actually not worried about McLaughlin suing us because she actually is a good sport. She's actually a good sport to people making fun of that commercial. She's actually been in 2 parodies of that commercial. So she's a good sport. I'm sure she'll be fine with it.
Let's be real.
Never fine.
Memes.
One more. When your neighborhood kid says he knows all the source, that single statement indicates the first thing, oncoming thrust, all chum.
Oh my God.
Oh. We gotta move on. Anyways, all right. Batman 66. What a great time to be alive. Batman and Robin saving Gotham City from basically the same villains all the time. Yes. And I will wear that Batman costume for Halloween, guys. Don't worry.
Oh, we can't wait. Can we, Justin?
Don't worry. I'm gonna wear it for Halloween, and it's Batman. No, it's not just Batman. It's the Adam West Batman.
So,
it's
guys,
the J Batman.
It's time we enter a new era of Hollywood.
We're gonna enter the night.
A so-called new Hollywood.
Ooh.
And this is when smaller stories were coming out, right?
1967.
Smaller, more contemporary dramas. So starting off, let's talk about Bonnie and Clyde.
Ooh, with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway.
Correct.
I remember watching that in my society and culture class.
I spelled it wrong. Sorry about that.
So, Bill,
yes,
you see in the movie, tell us, how does it end?
Do I have to give the spoiler, don't I?
Yes.
You have to give the spoiler.
She dies.
If I can, I'm gonna make things a little interesting. Do you mind, Justin?
Go right ahead.
I'm gonna read you the poem that was written in this movie. And it really gives you the... Okay, I gotta find it for a sec.
Well, this is going to be interesting, folks. Bill Murphy reciting poetry live on the Super Review Show. Everyone give some snaps to Bill.
Okay. This was actually a poem that was written by the actual Bonnie Parker, and it's in the film. The story of Bonnie and Clyde. You've heard the story of Jesse James, of how he lived and died. If you're still in need of something to read, here's the story of Bonnie and Clyde. Now, Bonnie and Clyde are the Barrow gang. I'm sure you all have read how they rob and how they steal and how those are squeal and are usually found dying or dead. There are lots of untruths in their write-ups. They're not so merciless as that. They hate all the laws. They steal pigeon spotters and rats. If a policeman is killed in Dallas and they have no clues to guide, if they can't find a fiend, they just wipe the slate clean and hang it on Bonnie and Clyde. If they try to act like citizens and run them a little nice flat, about a third night, you know what? I'm just going to skip to the point. What do you think, Justin?
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is longer than I remembered. Okay, guys, you want me to skip to the point, or you guys want me to read the whole thing? Up to you.
You can skip to the point.
Skip to the point.
For heartbreak, some people have suffered. For weakness, some people have died. But take it all and all, or troubles are small till we get like Bonnie and Clyde. Someday they will go down together, and they will bury them side by side. To a few, it means grief. To the law, it's relief. But it's death to Bonnie and Clyde. So yeah, short version, they died.
Very gruesomely.
Yeah, they are. What is it like? One of their friends like rat them out to the cops, and I haven't seen this movie in like 12 years.
Well, do you remember how they died?
Yeah, they got shot up.
Yeah, with a sea of bullets raining upon their car. This was one of the most violent movies to come out ever at this point.
And also, this shows the loosening of the Hays Code. Because remember, one of the things that we talked about was the good guy always wins.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're bad guys, but they lose, but they make things a little more nuanced.
Yeah.
It's not just bad guy, bad. They get killed because they bad. Good guy lives because they're good. It was, it really shows nuance.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the film, I've only seen it once, Justin, forgive me. But
no, it's okay. I just wanted to focus on the gruesomeness of
because
that final scene.
It's a real shoot 'em up film. And this was the beginning of the end of the Hays Code. Is that why it's so important?
This was the end of the Hays Code.
1967.
Yeah. This movie had pretty much everything objectionable to the Hays Code wrapped in one movie, and it was successful. They released it. After this, they really shifted to the rating system we have today, which will lead us into our next film. I know this was one of Bill's favorite when he saw it, The Graduate.
And here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. You know what? Because I think this film, now I'm putting my prestigious hat on. But this film, I think, represents, and also Bonnie and Clyde, represents the counterculture of the 1960s.
Yeah.
I need to explain, don't I?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, The Graduate, because it kind of represents the, gone are the, yes, father, I'll do whatever you tell me. Yes, mother, I'll listen to you. And now it's sort of like a movie of, once you think about it, it's a movie about existential dread.
Mm-hmm.
Once you think about it. For those who want what happened, should I give them the classy version or should I give them the straight up version?
Just go straight up.
This older woman is banging Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Thank you, good night, and God bless. And most importantly, God bless.
So yes, Mrs. Robinson, the neighbor, seduces Ben Braddock, who has the hots for her daughter and is trying to take her out. But when that comes out, the affair breaks up that family, and she goes off to college and meets a boy that the family approves of, and she's gonna get married. So Ben goes and interrupts the wedding, causes pandemonium, and they run off together and realize what they've done, and they have no plan, and they might have just made a huge mistake.
Because if you look at the because what's the opening and closing song is
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Sound of Silence, and that song was actually written about the Kennedy assassination, believe it or not.
And Simon and Garfunkel's music in that movie was incredible.
Yeah, they did the whole soundtrack. But as my society and culture teacher, Mr. Moriello would say, you know who was the star of that movie? The Pool. The Pool was the star of that movie.
He really wanted that pool, didn't he?
It was just, he said, I really liked how they used it for transitions. But you know what? It's a movie about existential dread, in which could be the generation of the young people who were lost in the 1960s. And because when you, that last scene, when they're on the bus after they escape the wedding, first they're big smiles, and then those smiles turn to, would you say frowns or
blank stares?
To blank stares, like, okay, what now? And then we hear, once again, Sound of Silence. Because the song Sound of Silence, it's a very depressing song.
Very.
It's about emptiness. And at the end, Ben and Elaine are empty. Like, okay, what do we do now? Did we just make a big mistake?
Yeah.
And, this really shows the youth of the 1960s. Of what are they going to do? Everything is lost now.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Anything else in 67 or?
That was the big one.
Well, you know what? There's one I really want to talk about just very briefly because I know we got a bunch more to go. This may be weird. The Jungle Book. And you know why I think this is important to talk about? Because this is the last film that Disney made when he was alive. And it's actually based off of the Rudyard Kipling book, which the book itself is darker. It's actually about imperialism in British imperialism in India. And okay, well, Justin, I see it. But short version, when they were making the film, Walt Disney said, guys, have you ever read Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book? And he gave them copies of the book. And I said, okay, you know what I need you to do with this book? Don't read it. I'll tell you the whole story. And this film, the Beatles were actually supposed to
yeah, they were supposed to voice for
the Vultures.
Characters. Oh, the Vultures.
There's two stories. One was that they just couldn't make it, and the other one is John Lennon basically told Disney that go F himself. But they thought, but then they changed the song. The original song, That's What Friends Are For, was originally supposed to be like a Beatles type song.
Mm-hmm.
But they thought it would sound too dated, so they turned it into a barbershop quartet type song. And this movie was basically after Walt Disney died, then that was the beginning of what they call.
The Dark Era.
Yeah, and we'll get more into the resurrection of that next week. Okay, 68.
Yes. Let me jump over to right now. There's actually
J-Man.
I have three movies we could talk about for 1968 if that's okay. And
Guys,
I wonder if we swiped. I wonder if I swiped over right with either one of you
not
guys.
gonna lie, we gotta pick up the pace.
I know. I got three. I think we can cover three in about like 5 minutes.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, 2001: A Space Odyssey. One of the most, and I'll touch on it briefly because we did talk about this movie when Justin filled in for us, for Bill actually initially when we first did Ali on. A great movie overall. One of my favorite movies of all time. It's very slow. It's very slow paced, of course. But you cannot deny the effects in it at the time were groundbreaking. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys, if you've never seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, it is a very slow paced movie for today's, we want everything fast standards. But it's a very one of my favorite movies of all time. About human evolution, computers gone wrong, AI. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie overall. Excuse me. Anything you guys want to comment on it really quick or no?
I haven't really seen it. The only thing I really know is dun dun dun
Dun,
dun,
dun, dun, dun, the theme song, right?
by Richard Strauss.
Yes. Justin, have you seen this movie or no?
Um, I've seen bits and pieces of it.
It is a very slow paced movie. I do recommend watching it with like caffeine in you. I'm not joking when I say. And Kubrick's direction was flawless, of course.
Although I have watched this the light tunnel scene many times.
It is trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I needless to say, but no, that was one of the ones. I don't know if I was swiped right with either one of you guys. I love the movie though. One of my favorite movies of all time, personally. Harkens back to my childhood. Anyways, now this next one turned into a franchise over the course of like the past 50, 60 years or so. But the original, the very, very first, mind you, Planet of the Apes.
Uh-huh.
How could we forget about that?
Get your dirty paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it's about an astronaut that goes into space. He accidentally time travels. Well, he doesn't know, but he time travels into the future, and the entire world is run by apes, and they talk, and the humans are enslaved. It's actually based on the book from a French novel. I don't know if you guys know. I don't know if you guys knew the novel was French or not. Did you guys know that or no?
I did not know that.
So it was based on a novel that was written in France. I forget the author's name specifically, but no, but Charlton Heston nailed this one. Justin, I feel like you've seen this one, no?
Um, believe it or not, I haven't. I've seen the modern ones, but not the classic one actually.
The first one's very, very, very good. But have you seen it?
Oh, the first one? No, I haven't, believe it or not.
So we did a movie commentary, I want to say like in 2018 or 2019. We actually did it for the first one. I have all five on Blu-ray. You guys can come over one day and we'll watch it one day. The three of us will just watch it. We'll watch like a bunch of them together. They're quick movies too. They're only like an hour and a half long.
Okay.
So I'll have a watch party one day for Planet of the Apes. But yeah, it's a great franchise. A lot of people think they're stupid. Like, oh, the Planet of the Apes. No, but if it's a really, really groundbreaking sci-fi at its finest. Gotta admit. And I got one more for 1968, and we talked about this one. I wonder if Justin's was gonna bring it up or not. But Night of the Living Dead, where the public domain has the rights to it.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I'm kind of glad you did.
I mean, I'll just chime in for a brief second, and then we'll go off on to 69 after that. But it's only like two movies I can think of for 69. Anyways, one of them is for 1968, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, the movie was a movie of its time, but it really has shown how you can amazing. It's amazing how within like a 7 or 8 year time span, we went from hey, I'm wearing it's a hard day's night or breakfast at Tiffany's to Night of the Living Dead. It's crazy.
Wow.
So, I mean, just the cultural evolution of the 1960s and how life changed over time was really something that's very documented well over people who lived through it will never forget it. But But the people who actually didn't live through and look back at it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of like change back then, the cultural and filmmaking and music, and so much evolution over that whole decade. It's crazy. Um, but Night of the Living Dead. Have you seen the original one, Justin?
I haven't.
I have.
Not
The
I
much.
very,
haven't.
oh, you haven't either, Bill. Okay, this might be a good watch for you guys to watch. It's really not that grotesque. Like the ending is shocking. The very last scene in the movie is like, what? That happened? And then it ends. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. Spoilers. There'll be no spoilers tonight. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead 68 had to touch on it because it really showed like how society going out of the 60s into the 70s, which we'll get to in a little bit, just a little bit here, was truly a work of not art necessarily, but just how times were changing, the cultural evolution, and how things were just progressing and times were changing. But yeah, if you have never seen Night of the Living Dead, get on it. All right. I got one movie for 1969, and tell me if you guys know about this movie or not. Do you guys ever heard of a movie called? Have you guys ever heard the song "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head"?
Butch
Yes.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Sundance Kid.
Great. I just want to touch on it. We've never touched on it when we did our podcast. I love this movie. Fantastic movie with Robert Redford and Paul Newman as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This is a fantastic. If you've never seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, you, the viewer, the listener, you've never seen this movie, get on it. It is one of the most entertaining films I've ever seen in my life. And fun fact, the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, guys, was the very first, from this movie, mind you, was the first #1 hit of 1970.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the movie came out in 69, the song charted in 1970 as the first #1 hit of the 70s. That's crazy. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Burt Bacharach, who also did the score, if I'm not mistaken, too. So
God rest his soul.
God rest Burt. You were one of a kind, truly one of a kind.
What about
That's
Easy Rider? I've never seen Easy Rider.
I have.
Isn't that 69?
That is 69.
We'll talk about it for a brief second there. Go ahead.
It's about two bikers riding through Americana with the proceeds from a cocaine deal. It's very slice of life for a lot of it until the end where everyone dies.
Wow.
Everyone dies.
It's a counterculture biker movie. Jack Nicholson's in it. He has a fun scene where he drinks some Jim Beam whiskey.
All right.
Okay, so time to go on to the 70s.
I guess at that time we've officially turned the tide to go to the next decade, which was 1970s. The 70s, some of the great, because for those of you who are still with us, we are officially out of the 60s now. We're into the 70s as far as movies go. And yeah, some of the greatest movies of the decade were actually just at the turn of the. There's not too many for 1970, but there's a lot like later on in the decade.
There is one movie for 1970 I'd like to speak about.
What do you got?
And this is for Papa Murph because this is one of his favorite movies.
Is it Patton?
Yes, it is.
What is it?
Patton.
You magnificent bastard! I read your book.
No, Patton. Patton.
That's from Patton.
Sorry. Good.
Okay, so this is a movie, and I think George C. Scott won an Academy Award for this. This movie is a biopic of General George Patton. And the reason I love this movie so much, that opening scene, that opening speech is freaking fantastic. When you see Patton talking to probably new recruits, they don't show who the audience is. He comes up with above a giant American flag, and you hear do 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 do. You'll be seated. And then one of the best speeches ever. In our country's history, We have never won wars by dying for our country. We've won wars by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. We are going to murder those Hun bastards. Like, no, he does not beat around the bush. He tells you what he's going to say.
Yeah.
And then the last line, and when I first heard this as a kid, my mom was ready to freak out because my dad kept repeatedly saying it. We're going to hold him by the nose, and we're going to kick him in the ass. Dismissed. And that was the first time I was allowed to say the word ass. But anyway, but no, the film, it is a very long film. And, you know, Justin, would you say this is a pro-war or an anti-war film, or we're just telling you George Patton's bio?
I think it's just telling George Patton's bio.
And that scene when he's yelling at the soldier because he doesn't want to go out because he's scared. And he's like, you dare do that cowardly in front of these men who were injured in this place of honor? You're going back to the front, my friend. You may get shot. You may be killed, but at least you'll die with honor. You know what? I'll shoot you myself. And then he just runs. Yeah, but it really shows you like how much Patton hated General Monty for the UK or Eisenhower because he wanted to lead the D-Day invasion, but it ended up being Ike and Monty, and he resented them till the forever.
Yeah.
So George C. Scott does an amazing job as Patton. And the film is just, and the score, da-dum, 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 is just, wow. Very underrated score, in my opinion. And that's for Papa Murph. Okay, moving on.
1971 now?
One.
Okay, hold on one second. I gotta go back to my list.
The list.
Did Clockwork Orange come out in 71 or 75?
Justin?
Oh, it was 74. Oh, 71. It's 71.
It was 71. Have you guys seen this movie? I have not.
I watched enough.
1971 of Clockwork Orange.
It's a brutal watch.
It was banned. We talked about that.
We sure did. I didn't realize it came out in, so I thought it was 75 for some reason. I'm sorry. I've never seen it. So I wasn't sure. I wanted to bring it up though because it came out that year. You know what I mean? So have you
I'm singing in the
Yeah.
I feel like I want to watch that movie, but something tells me I don't want to watch it.
It's Justin, how would you describe it? Clockwork Orange.
Sadistic.
Sadistic, okay.
It's Kubrick.
And Kubrick is one of the most experimental directors of all time. So yeah. There you
go. Honestly, I'd rather talk about another movie from 1971.
What movie is that?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Da-na-na, da-na-na.
So, fun fact about this movie, it bombed when it first came out.
We talked about that too.
That is true.
It was only after subsequent re-releases and television broadcasts that it became this beloved classic.
Especially with TV release, especially a famous airing in 1975, and I've talked about this before. There was a conflict. They were supposed to air this movie on the day of a football game, and the game went into overtime, and NBC, because 7 years earlier they went through this thing called the Heidi game, in which they cut from the game for the movie Heidi, and the Raiders ended up coming back in that game, and people were pissed. And then what happened? NBC had a decision to make at 7:00 aired. Going, do we stay with the game or do we cut to the film? And they chose to stay with the game. and they went to the film that is now 40 minutes in. So you
Yeah.
miss all the,
All the schmaltz, and you're just getting the good stuff.
but I remember we talked about this before, Justin. You said you would have just cut to the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. What about the fans who are watching the game, though?
Oh, so what? It's just football.
What?
Oof.
Ben's fighting words, my friend.
Put him up, Murph.
Put him up. Put him up. I'm having a bully day. Are you having a bully day? Is everyone
I'm having a bully day. You have a bully day.
Bully. Bully.
Bully. Bully.
Bully. Anyway, what was I saying? But that actually, with the Heidi thing I was telling you about earlier, that actually led to an implementation of the Heidi rule. Justin, where's my graphic?
Dun dun dun.
It's still in the shop.
The Heidi rule, which actually said in home markets, sporting events must now be shown in their whole entirety in the home markets. See, you're not the only one who knows things around here. So nowadays, if live events cut into other things, they just go, okay, we will now. Well, now they just push everything back. But Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I can't believe this movie bombed when it came out.
I mean, it's hard to believe today, but yeah.
Oompa, loompa, doopa dee doo.
All right. Are you good for 71?
Yeah, I think that's it.
For the most part. I mean, more iconic.
Oh, that means 72.
Bill, the stage is yours, my friend.
My Godfather came out.
You come to me on my daughter's wedding day to offer me your hand in friendship. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Kill them. I cannot do that. The Godfather. One of the greatest movies of all time. I will fight anyone who disagrees with me on that.
Yeah.
Watch it, pal. Watch it.
You just made fun of football. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you were on my list tonight, Justin. You make fun of football. You're questioning the Godfather. Ooh, you're on my list tonight. But
Shots
anyway,
fired.
But anyway, The Godfather. How can you not? This is like a near perfect film, if not perfect. Okay, I'll let you. The chair recognizes Mr. Favaro.
You've been summoned before the tribunal.
Oh my God.
And choose your words very wisely, my friend.
Look.
Okay, I'm looking.
I've gained an appreciation for this movie that I didn't have the first time I watched it.
Okay. You smartened up. Good.
Is it my favorite movie? No.
Okay, fair enough. But you can respect the hell out of this movie.
I can respect the movie. I can respect its storytelling. I can respect its character development. And I feel like it's a movie I prefer to think upon rather than watch.
Okay, how so?
Like, I find pondering about Michael's character very interesting.
It is very interesting.
How it was never supposed to be that way, how it really is a tragedy.
Because in the beginning of the movie, he's like, I don't want to say the goody two shoes, but for lack of a better word, he's the goody two shoes. Wouldn't you say, Justin? He's the war hero. And if you've watched the Godfather saga, there's a scene when they're going to see the consigliere who's dying, and Don Vito asks Michael, goes, now that the war's over, what are you going to do? He goes, finish school. And he goes, good. I don't want you in this. I want you to go be a doctor or a lawyer. But then by the end of the film, he's the epitome of evil.
Yeah.
Because I always think of it this way when they go, when at the end of the film, when he snaps that K, he goes, don't ask me about my business, K. And then you hear that do 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 do, and you hear it again, and they go, Don Corleone, Don Corleone. And then the door is closed. To me, that's symbolism of Michael's life. The door is now closed. And now we have this new Michael. And then Marlon Brando's performance, which is absolutely. They originally didn't want Marlon Brando.
I know. Because at the time, he was uninsurable. He was box office poison, and it wasn't worth the performance for his antics.
Yeah, would you say this was basically like a comeback movie, a comeback film for him?
It was a comeback film for him.
Marlon Brando, because at this time, he was big in like the 50s and 60s, not really 60s, right, Justin?
No, 60s is sort of where he started to falter.
And Francis Ford Coppola really wanted him. But we talked about this before, I think in alternate casting choices. Coppola and the studio literally went back and forth. So we want this guy. Well, we want this guy. They originally wanted Ernest Borgnine as Don Corleone.
Interesting.
And Coppola wanted Marlon Brando. I said, as long as I'm the head of Paramount Pictures, Marlon Brando's not going to be in this movie.
Yes, he wasn't the head of Paramount Pictures when they made the movie.
Well, no, he was. I think they made a compromise because another one is Coppola wanted Al Pacino, who was a relative unknown at the time.
Right.
And I said, no, we want big names. And with the whole Marlon Brando thing, they said, okay, we'll make a compromise. We'll let you have Marlon Brando, but we want James Caan. I think that's how it went. I could be wrong. I said, but we want James Caan.
I mean, not a bad trade.
I said, we'll give you Marlon Brando, but we want James Caan as Sonny. And he goes, okay, deal. And because this movie was I haven't watched the series, but there's a series on Paramount Plus called The Offer.
I'm aware of it.
This was a classic example of studio versus director.
Yes.
Every time Francis Ford Coppola wanted something, the studio said no. And when the studio wanted something, Francis Ford Coppola also said no. So these two basically hated each other.
Yep.
But you know what? The film is nearly perfect because you know what? The great Steven Spielberg, when he first watched this movie, he said, I might as well quit filmmaking. I'm never going to make something like this. But by the way, Steven, we're glad you didn't quit.
Yeah, especially since his career hasn't even began yet.
We're glad you didn't quit, though. No, but when he saw this movie, he was like, I don't know if I can. I'm never going to make something like this. But yeah, the performances, Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, James Caan, John Cazale, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton. It's just, oh my God, I could do a whole doctoral thesis. This film is just so, and yes, it's a violent film, but I think the violence is more stylized. It's not like Bonnie and Clyde. Would you say, Justin?
I think that Bonnie and Clyde was kind of stylized too.
Yeah. And you can quote this movie. You could quote this movie so much. I'll make him an offer you can't refuse. Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
The Italian lines are a little harder to remember.
The leave the gun, take the cannolis. Don't ask me about my business, Kay. No. You know what you got to do? Okay, this is a lesser known line. You got to take a gun, you got to put it up against his head, and boom, get his brains all over your nice new Ivy League suit, Michael. Just like that. If I can get him in a place and get Clemenza to plant a gun for me, I'll kill them both. Like, this is a film. Oh my God, I can go on about Justin could tell you I can go on about this movie forever.
Then maybe we should cut you off.
But no, there was actually another movie in 1972 I actually would like to discuss a wee bit because I think it's important with subject matter. And I think it's very relevant to today. It's a musical film called Cabaret. And this was actually in competition with The Godfather. Justin, have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay.
We worked on the stage show recently that came out with Eddie Redmayne, but I've not seen this movie.
Well, I'll make this quick.
How do you spell it?
Cabert. Okay. So the film itself, it was actually the story itself actually is about is actually based off a book called Goodbye to Berlin by Christopher Isherwood. And the film is about a American writer who falls for a German nightclub singer named Sally Bowle, played by Liza Minnelli, who is a cabaret singer in a club called the Kit Kat Club. And this is in early 1930s Germany, which we all know what happened there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the film itself is basically, and the film, which was directed by Bob Fosse, and it just tells the story about, the stories about political apathy, about how Liza Minnelli's character is like, oh, who cares? It's only politics. It doesn't have anything to do with me. And then it leads to, and this is and then like what's going on in the club is sort of commentary of what's going on in the movie with the MC played by Joel Grey. And the end of the film, this is something, it is like the MC is singing the final number, and then he goes, "Am Binesen, am bientôt," which means goodbye, farewell in German and French, and then stiff bow and leaves. But you look into the mirror, and all the audience there are Nazis.
Mm.
And they actually used to do that in the stage show. They actually had the mirror of reflecting to the audience. To show if you're complacent, this could be you. This could be us.
Yeah.
And because you know what? The reason I wanted to bring up this film and why it's so important is because musicals up to this point, it was Sound of Music, My Fair Lady, Hello Dolly. They wanted to show this was around the time when musicals were dying.
Yeah.
And they wanted to show a different type of musical. And I think what's very interesting about this is they kind of did something similar to Kill a Mockingbird. They used events that happened in the past to provide commentary on current events. Because when the original Broadway show came out, they actually showed them a picture of a bunch of angry white folks. and they thought it had something to do with Nazi Germany, but it was actually people who were protesting integration of schools.
Hmm.
So they used things that happened in the past to provide commentary on current events, which is very interesting. And plus, Oscar wise, Cabaret ended up taking 8 Oscars.
Damn.
And Bob Fosse beat out Francis Ford Coppola for Best Director.
Oof.
Hey, Godfather still won Best Picture, though. So guess what?
Evens itself out.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready? Any else for 72? Are we ready to move on to 73?
Let's move on to 73.
Yes, and I will kick us off for 1973. And I'm going through my list. There really wasn't a lot of like. There was only like a couple. Really one major motion picture that I wanted, and I think we all should touch on it. I think it's called American Graffiti.
Mm,
Pre-Star Wars George Lucas.
correct.
When he was a really good director before the prequels and stuff like that. But anyways, great movie overall. It starred. It's where were you in '62? You know, what I mean, this is a great movie about how to be a teenager in the '50s, and how like life when you're 18 is just tomorrow, 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 and at the end of the day, this is actually really. It's a great movie overall. If even I had to just briefly mention it, but if you've never seen American Graffiti, get on it. It's one of the best movies of that time period. Truly an American classic of its time
And,
period.
and let's not forget, around this time, we also had The Exorcist.
I was just about to mention that too. Those are the two big ones of that year.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
73. That was one of this what they call the scariest movie
Of all time.
It probably is the scariest movie of all time.
It probably was. I mean, I've never seen it. I kind of don't want to see it, but that's me. Like it's a very terrifying, scary movie to say the least. But yeah, needless to say. But yeah, I mean, it's still to this day is one of the most scariest movies of all time.
Yes.
I have not seen it. I cannot judge that willingly, but I do know that it is one of the best movies of all time too. And the sequels were terrible, including the most recent one too, apparently, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, The Exorcist Believer was like a very
The movie is, yeah, this movie is scared shitless. This movie will scare you shitless.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I'll tell you that right now. And I gotta go to bed for work tomorrow morning. Let's be real.
Jesus.
All right. Anything else for 73, or are we ready to go on to
I
74?
think I think we're good. I have 4 for 70. I have 4 movies for 74 that we can all touch on as a group, if that's okay.
74, the year of Mel Brooks.
The year of Mel Brooks, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to horror movies in a second, but yeah, like Blazing Saddles. Have you guys ever seen that?
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
So good, so good. Just one of with Gene Wilder, and actually he's starting 2 movies that year too. We'll get to that one in a second, but Blazing Saddles. We're going
What in the wild world of sports of going on?
Yeah, we're going rapid fire here for a little bit, guys, because we're probably boring our listeners. We've been going for like 2 hours now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but Blazing Saddles. And the other one from that year was Young Frankenstein. I would say,
Yep.
if anyone wants to study
God, and you guys keep cutting out.
Sorry, Bill.
I don't know if it's you or me.
I think it might be your internet. I'm not sure because we're good over here. So
Yeah.
Okay.
anyways, Young Frankenstein. If anyone out there in the world wants to learn how to write a spoof movie, study Young Frankenstein. That's the best advice I've ever heard. It is so funny.
Hey, Justin, you might want to get that hump looked at.
What hump?
Bruca.
Like Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks' direction was priceless too. Mel Brooks is still with us, thank God. He's
And Gene Wilder actually wrote this movie.
Did he really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. He wrote this movie. He asked Mel to direct it and to not be in it.
Mel not be in it? You said?
Yeah. Mel Brooks could not be in the movie. That was the deal.
Really?
Because he's always in his movies.
Well, I know that, but still. That's crazy. I never knew that. That's interesting. You learn something new every day. But
But
yeah, there's two more movies from 74. I just wanted to briefly go over before we go over to 75. And then we got 5 more years after that, guys. Don't worry. We're
all
gonna
right,
wrap
but
up
there is one movie we got to talk about for 74.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, I can't believe. Show some respect for this movie.
Which movie?
God-
Monty Python?
Godfather Part 2, duh.
Oh well, yeah. We were discluding sequels because it was a James Bond.
I thought you were going to say something important. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
what
it's
are we? Wait, are we? We're discluding sequels?
I mean, well, even though one best picture, because
We're discluding sequels?
we didn't talk about any of the other James Bond movies or the Planet of the Apes movies. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
Godfather 2 was the first, was the first sequel to win Best Picture. Oh,
I mean, yeah, that's pretty significant.
I forgot about that actually.
okay. Okay, something's up on my end here, guys. Give me a minute. Oh wait, never mind. I think we're back to life here.
You're good, but don't worry. I really wanted to wait. Where was it? Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first one, 1974. We touched on this a little bit when we talked about movies that got the wrong rating. No, it wasn't the one. Not the one that got the wrong rating. Justin talked.
No, it was banned. It was banned.
Banned.
Right.
Thank you. Really showing how time has progressed over time with this. But yeah, this is a big one. It got banned back in the day. It's terrifying movie in general. I mean, a guy with a chainsaw, based on real stuff, real events back in the time too.
That's false. That was just a lie for marketing purposes.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
The more you know. I kind of want to see it just like to see what it was like. But that's me. I didn't realize it was not. It was based on. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It has its fan base. It has its its worldly stuff in it. But yeah. One and now just switching over to comedy before we go to 1975 is what was it? Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
On second thought, let's not go to Camelot. It's a silly place.
Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead.
So many quotes in this one movie alone. And I'm going to point out the Gen Z people here who listen to us.
You're Gen Z.
No, well, I'm talking about the people who are younger than 25 years old and live under a rock and don't know what the hell Monty Python is. Get on it. One of the funniest movies of all time. One of the best movies of all time. One of the most critically acclaimed hysterical movies of all time. If you don't know Monty Python and the Holy Grail, get on it. And I'm saying that as calmly and as effectively as I can. Get on it. You've never seen comedy unless you've seen Monty Python stuff. They are some of the best to do it. So, yeah. Just hysterical films. But this one specifically is one of the best I've ever seen. One of the most fun
Get
movies.
on with it.
Get on with it. It's so.
Get on with it.
I do love this. Get on with it. It's so funny. Oh my God. Anyways, there's a lot of great memes.
I created you and I can uncreate you.
God. But yeah. Now that's pretty much 74. We just kind of went through a rapid fire of those 4 right there. I got 2 movies for 1975. That's okay with you.
75. There's only one movie you really need to talk about.
Rocky Horror?
The movie that shut down a whole recreational activity.
Okay, we could skip Rocky Horror for a second. Guys, let's not forget.
Launched Steven Spielberg's career.
Let's
The
not
first
forget.
ever summer blockbuster.
Jaws shut down swimming.
The movie that made John Williams a household name.
Yes. Need we say more? Let's be real. Need we say
The
more?
movie where the shark kept breaking down every damn day on set.
The shark broke down. Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, one of the best, the first blockbuster of all time.
Yeah.
The first one. People were lined up around the block to go see Jaws.
So, fun fact, wide releases were not a thing until this movie, not for like big movies. Usually, a wide release was seen as a sign of little faith in the movie.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So that people, the movie studios put out the movie in as many theaters as possible to recoup as much money as they can in the first weekend before people realize, oh, this sucks. So when people realized how scary this movie was, yeah, this became
The
a
block
blockbuster.
sounds like a villain from Batman. The blockbuster. Anyway.
Actually, Blockbuster's a Nightwing villain.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Thanks for clarifying me that nerd.
Nerd.
Kidding. We love you. No, but Jaws, yeah. I mean, come on. Iconic. If you've never read the book by Peter Benchley, do it. Anyways, I digress. Let's go over to 76 for a sec. I got two movies for 76 that we can talk about really quick, if that's okay.
I think I know what one of them is.
Dot, 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 dot.
Dun, 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 bam, 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 boom, boom, bum, bum, ba-da-da-dum, bum, ba-da-da.
Don't sue us, Bill Conti. I think you're dead, but that's okay.
But anyway, the little movie that could.
One best picture of the year.
The little movie that could, because this was a movie that Stallone literally spent like his last couple $100 on to make.
Yeah.
And
He was homeless. He pawned off his dog. He
did a lot.
Risked it all for this movie.
And it won best picture at the Oscars, and he won best actor too.
Yeah, this movie was absolutely fantastic. Rocky.
And Bill and I did a movie commentary.
What can you say?
Bill and I did a movie commentary on it in February of 2020. Do you remember that? Yeah, we did a movie commentary on it way back when, in like pre-COVID.
Yes, we did.
time,
That was right before COVID.
right before it all went down the toilet.
But anyway, and
anyways.
also interesting fact, and I think I may have said this before.
Yeah.
Stallone dropped out of college, and then like sometime in the 90s, they said, give us the original draft of Rocky, and we'll count it as your term paper.
Wow, lucky him.
Yeah.
And he gave it to them, and he said, congratulations, you've graduated. Here's your degree.
That's funny.
Yeah, so this movie also helped Stallone graduate college.
Yeah, go Sly. R.I.P. Carl Weathers.
Yes, he died this year.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
But
I got one more for 1976, then we can zip through a couple more, all right?
all right, what's 70? What else you got for 76?
Are you talking to me?
Taxi Driver.
I full disclosure, and I feel so guilty for saying this, but Robert De Niro, I have not seen this movie.
I tried watching this movie a couple of weeks ago. It's
One of the films that
a slow burn.
one of the tough to watch.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch it.
No, this movie was one of Marty Scorsese's first big movie commentary.
Absolutely. Oh, I think we lost Bill.
Yeah.
We lost Bill. Just you and me, Justin. Sorry. Bill will be back in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Taxi Driver. You said you saw it though, or no?
I watched a bit of it. I started watching it a couple weeks ago, and it's a slow burn, so I need to get back into it.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you had like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Bill will be back in a little bit. His internet cut out for a sec. All right, that's what I had for 70. I mean, you had Smoking the Bandit that year too. If you want to, did you ever see that movie or no?
I mean, yeah, that movie's a classic. It's based on this whole trucker culture that was very popular way back when, and it's Jackie Gleason and Burt Reynolds in a cat and mouse chase. From Texarkana, Texas to
Arkansas, Alabama.
one of the two. Anyways, it's just a really charming movie. It's funny. Sally Field's great in it, and yeah,
Yeah.
three cheers to Sheriff Buford T. Justice.
Yes, Buford T. All right, let's go to 77 really quick, all right?
I mean, what's there to say but Star Wars?
There's actually like 2 other movies that came out that year. We'll talk about Star Wars in a second.
And all of them were overshadowed by Star Wars.
Yes,
Did
they
we
were
talk
all.
about Star Wars yet?
We're getting to it right now. Give me 1 sec. Do I do Star Wars now? Because I have 2 more. I have 2 more in 77. That's okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
So Star Wars now. Okay, let's do it.
The other little movie that could.
Literally.
George Lucas did not have faith in this movie.
No.
In fact, if his original cut was the one that came out, I don't think this would have been as successful as it really was. It was George's wife at the time, Marcia, who edited the movie and made it the masterpiece that it is today. 20th Century Fox, which distributed the movie, didn't have any faith in the movie as well, to the point where George Lucas was able to negotiate merchandising rights for this movie in its entirety.
In its entirety?
One of the biggest mistakes that 20th Century Fox ever did was making that deal, because they didn't get a penny off of merchandise, but Lucas did. Lucas made all the money.
From merchandising, that's where the real money is. Am I right?
There you go.
Crazy. Yeah. Needless to say, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also the greatest villain of all time. One of the greatest villains of all time.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
The late greats David Prowse and James Earl Jones, they both worked together to create this menacing, dark monster known as Vader.
Did you guys see the other night, in tribute to James Earl Jones, they lit the Empire State Building red and white for Darth Vader?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So the movie, as soon as you, because it is that film, the most iconic, when you see in a galaxy, a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, then you hear
Far, far away.
far, far away. You hear do 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 do. You're like, oh, you know what this is.
And if you didn't know who John Williams was before,
Now you know.
now you do.
Now you know who he is.
And if you still don't know who he is, well,
Shame!
next year.
Yeah. Anything else for Star Wars, guys?
No, I think we're good.
All right, I got.
And I saw you
more-
talk about Smokey and the Bandit. I just want to say real quick, Justin.
What?
Junior, there's no way you come from my loin. As soon as we get home, the first thing we're going to do is...
Maybe don't say the entire joke.
Yeah, good call.
All right, I got 2 more, and
I'm running out of gas right now. I can't think straight.
I'll rapid fire really quick.
Okay.
Saturday, and it was a product of its time, but Saturday Night Fever.
Night fever. We don't got to do it.
I mean, like John Travolta dancing in a white outfit. How much more iconic can you get? And it's definitely a product of its time, though. I will say that, like the whole like that disco scene and stuff like that. But it needless to say, it was still a very good good movie. Over, I actually saw it for the first time a year or two ago. It was on Paramount Plus. I just watch it really quick, and I said, "Oh, this is a very entertaining movie." Needless to say, yeah. Just want to touch on that one really quick. Shed some light. And how can we forget Steven Spielberg's first sci-fi film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Mm.
Not gonna say too much on it. Just want to shed some light really quick on it. One of the best sci-fi movies of all time, aside from like Star Wars,
Okay.
Star Trek. But yeah, just shed some light on that really quick. 78. Let's go over to 78 really quick. We got I got three
Bum,
for 78.
ba-dum, 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 bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum.
Superman, the
Dun,
movie.
dun, 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 dun,
Again,
dun.
John Williams at his finest.
Absolutely.
And the
Um,
late great Christopher Reeve.
There's a
like great,
documentary. There's a documentary coming out about Christopher Reeve soon too.
yeah, Super Slash Man, the Christopher Reeve story.
That's awesome. This was one of my favorite movies growing up, with Superman and Christopher Reeve and all them, and Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. And for a while, we didn't know where Gene Hackman was. Now he's still alive, which is nice.
Yeah, he's a novelist now.
Yeah, he's no longer an actor.
Yeah.
He played a great Lex Luthor though throughout that whole franchise.
I mean, for the time, yes. Now
Yeah,
listen, I love this movie. My one complaint about this movie is Lex Luthor,
was just him.
Really?
but that's more because I prefer the modern take of Lex Luthor, comics Lex Luthor. Let's make that perfectly clear. Where he's like the world's most intelligent man, and he could have been one of the best men in the world if it wasn't for his insane jealousy for Superman.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, everything else in this movie, I absolutely adore.
I agree.
Um, it has this quaint quality in it that you don't see in movies nowadays. They really didn't make another movie like this since,
No,
where it just begins with someone reading a comic book. How how simple of a transition and how powerful.
the prelude music was perfect too for that scene.
Oh my god.
Prelude music?
Yes.
And then it goes into the score. But yeah, that's one of the best comic movies of all time. Iconic.
Yeah.
So, I got two more for 78, if that's okay
All
with
right,
you.
let's see him.
Bill's gonna kill me, but Grease, we have to touch on it.
Okay, it's a important film.
It's an iconic film of its time. With John Travolta and Rip Olivia Newton-John, may she rest in peace. But it's I'm not gonna say it's anything special, but it's a movie of its time. It's kind of like it's kind of like almost like what Disney Channel tries to do now, but back in the 70s. Like, with like they're like the please the young adult crowd at the time.
There's a weird amount of truth to what you're saying.
You're not I'm not wrong. So but yeah, no, I had to just shed some light on this really quick. And the other one I want to touch on really quick, it's actually a horror movie. We're only talking talking about the start of the movie, which was Halloween.
Oh, yes. A movie that only had like what was on a budget of like $25,000, I think.
It's a really low budget movie.
In the words of John Carpenter, we were just kids that wanted to make a movie and have fun.
And little did they know it'd become one of the best. I haven't seen it personally, but it's like one of the best, to my understanding, it's one of the best Halloween movies of all time, for lack of a better word. Not to rev up the title, but yeah. All right. I had to because Halloween's coming up here in the U.S. We had to touch on that one too. I have two more movies that we can talk about tonight, and then that's gonna be it for us. All right. Or
Okay, sounds good.
technically three because we've been going a long time now, and I know our
All
listeners
right, what is it?
they're probably tired of us. Let's see. What was it? Oh yeah, Alien 1 in 1979. We'll stop at 79.
Yeah,
Okay, sounds
I
good.
watched it with you for the first
Yeah.
time ever.
Bill watched this movie with me for the first time ever, and the chest pusher scene had him. You weren't scared. You were just like, ugh, It's
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was like,
disgusting.
ugh.
Yeah. Alien, if you wanted to, I just saw Alien Romulus. It was great. Oh my God. But Alien is like horror sci-fi. It's sci-fi horror at its finest. In space, no one can hear you scream. The egg bursting out of there, the alien coming out and trying to kill the crew. Pure horror sci-fi at its finest. Pure, 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 pure. Love it to death. And it spawned the whole franchise too. So when we get to the 80s next week, we'll talk about like aliens a little bit here and there, but that's about it. And
And this was at a time where the idea of sci-fi horror was kind of scoffed at.
yeah, at the time, like, oh, they can't do a horror movie with sci-fi. Oh, wait, there's Alien. And now Halloween was sci-fi fantasy, fantasy horror. This is more like sci-fi horror. Well, in space, no one can hear you scream. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's one of those things. It's incredible. One more movie I want to touch on really quick. And because you talked about Star Wars, but let's for a brief second
God
there.
damn it, JT, really?
Yes, I'm doing it. Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out in 1979, because only because you brought up Star Wars. Because without Star Wars, Star Trek would never have been a movie. That is a direct. That's on the honest to God truth. It would never have been a movie had it not been for Star Wars. Because
That
they
is really
Yeah,
how
but
so?
the Star Trek movies wouldn't have been if they didn't try and have a mulligan with their next movie.
And I will admit that this movie is very bad. Star Trek, Star Trek, I'm not a fan of Star Trek motion picture whatsoever. I've watched it and I actually fell asleep twice.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
because they were trying to emulate 2001: A Space Odyssey.
and then Star Trek 2 came out and it was a lot better. But besides the point, though, the motion picture was not a. It was a motion picture, all right. Let's put it that way. But needless to say, Star Trek movies would not have happened without Star Wars, and that is you can go look that up online too. That's the honest truth. Um, Steve Small in the chat board. Thank you for commenting, saying Batman 66, then Superman the movie. Interesting. Both are great. But yeah, one is fun, one is more comical than the other, but still. I think that's it, guys. We touched on a lot tonight. I will admit, we did a lot of stuff.
My brain is bleeding right now.
Okay.
We've done
Thank
it.
God this is the only week we're doing double duties with decades.
Yes, because if we did any of the other ones with double decades, we'd be swamped with other stuff. But needless to say, it's what you have to say out there, the viewer, listener, watcher, however you enjoyed us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in as always. I want to thank Bill and Justin for doing this podcast. It was a long, long, long night tonight, but we did a very good job. We're gonna go to
What
bed.
a long, strange trip this has been.
We're just like a galaxy far, far away. No, in all seriousness, we're gonna go to bed after this, and we're gonna go and crash and whatnot. But yeah,
Yes.
we want to thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoyed tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in as always to our podcast. Bill, the Sports Insanity something blah 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 whatever, right?
Sports Insanity Podcast, the Sports Insanity Network. Check us out tomorrow night. I want to say about either 7 or 7:30 Thursday Night Gridiron. We're going to preview the Bills Dolphins game. We're going to have a little fun. Don't forget to check us out Thursday Night Gridiron every Thursday night, and Sports Insanity Podcast on the Sports Insanity Network.
Thank you, Bill. And thanks for tuning in as always to the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag. And don't forget to follow us on our social media pages as well, simply at the Super Review Show, Instagram, Facebook, etc. at Super Review Show. Yeah, plenty more. So tune in next week as we go through movies of the decades.
We'll only go one decade next week, so don't worry.
We're only doing the 1980s. We promise you. We promise you we're only doing the 80s. We promise you. No, but all serious, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Stay safe. Take care.
care.
And be awesome.
Take care, and